A beautiful young actress, Nishino Akane, wakes up in the morning, takes a shower, and gets ready for school. A personal driver is waiting outside with a car and takes her to school. There, everyone greets her. She sees her classmate Kagano, who rarely shows any interest in her. She greets him and he greets her back, but mispronounces her name. She corrects him, he apologizes, but again he pronounces it wrong. She again tries to correct him and gets annoyed as Kagano continues to mispronounce her name. Akane doesn't despise him for getting her name wrong, but for him never looking at her eyes and looking somewhere else while talking to her. When Akane was in middle school, a fan kidnapped her and sexually abused her. Since then, she has been hiding behind a mask. She is good with teachers and plays the popular and good girl to make sure that no one hates her. After school, she calls her driver, but he doesn't pick up as he is being attacked by some men. She waits for some time and eventually heads home walking. On her way, she is kidnapped by the men that beat the driver. While she lost her consciousness, she sees Kagano approaching. Later, Akane wakes up tied in a warehouse. The kidnappers tell her that she just needs to stay here and once they get the ransom, she'll be freed. A kidnapper wants to do something more with her than just leaving her after ransom. Outside, Kagano observes the kidnappers and puts on his costume. As the kidnapper tries to sexually abuse Akane, he notices a shadow on the roof window looking towards him. Kagano comes down, saying that he is a stylish ruffian slayer. The kidnapper pulls out a gun, but Kagano throws a piece of glass, injuring his hand and disarming him. He then charges at the guy and throws him into the ground and smashes his face. The other kidnapper takes out a knife and attacks Kagano. Using crowbars, Kagano manages to disarm the man, but still gets overwhelmed. He then decides to get serious and shows him the potential he found in crowbars. The man then realizes he is the Balaclava Berserker, a man who has been fighting the bikers with crowbars. Kagano breaks the man's leg and beats him up. Then he frees Akane and tells her to be more careful next time. Akane then calls the police, and her father uses his connections to make the case not go public. Next day, Akane goes to school and sees Kagano. She greets him and he greets her back, calling her Nishino. She is ready to correct him, but realizes he got her name right, and this time feels that he is looking at her. The next morning, the news report that Minoru Kagano got hit by a truck and didn't survive. Kagano doesn't remember since when, but he always dreamt of being a hero. He spent his days training, while at school he was a background character. He reached a point where he can beat up some guys, but when surrounded by armed men, he doesn't stand a chance. If he becomes the best martial artist in the world, he may be able to beat those men too, but he still won't be able to do anything about a missile. Kagano wants to overcome those limits. In a new world, he forms an organization, and with his squad, they are about to start an operation. He also had obtained a new power, magic. Kagano wants to be the one who operates from the shadows, showing everyone their greatness. The Eminence in Shadow. Episode 2. After dying, Sid Kagano reborns in another family. The Kagano family has been making dark knights who can enhance their abilities using magic. The family has big hopes for Claire Kagano, Sid's older sister, who is quite talented. Sid grows up staying as a background character and doesn't draw any attention to himself. However, at night, he comes out and fights bandits. Using his slime sword, he easily kills the bandits and takes their gold and treasures. He also finds a cage with some rotting creature. Realizing it's possessed, he takes it home, where he shoots it with magic and does other experiments on it. After struggling for a month, he finally manages to contain the magical overload. The creature then returns to its normal form, a young beautiful elf. Wondering what to do, Sid decides to put on an act. As the elf awakens, Sid states that he broke her curse that has been put on her by the hero's descendants, who defeated Diabolos, and tells her it's actually a true story. And in his dying breath, the demon puts a curse on them. Sid introduces himself as Shadow, he who lurks in the shadow and hunts shadows. Sid asks her if she would join him, and having lost everything, she agrees and explains that they need to find more heroes' descendants and expand their organization. Sid agrees and names the organization Shadow Garden, and the girl Alpha. At age 13, Sid practices with his sister, and while he can defeat her easily, he acts weak and lets her defeat him. Claire is now 15 years old, and is ready to attend the Midgar Academy for Dark Knights. On the day of Claire's departure for the academy, she gets kidnapped. His parents get mad as she is kidnapped at night while sleeping. Sid asks Beta where Alpha is, and Beta explains that she is looking for clues to find Claire. Alpha had collected many members for their organization during these 3 years. Beta explains that Claire is likely still alive and is kidnapped by a high-ranking member belonging to the cult of Diabolos. Beta states in a map that they have few known hideouts, but they don't know in which one they keep Claire. Sid makes a slime knife and throws it at the map. He ends up missing the hideout, but states they will find his sister there. Beta then figures out that the cryptograms are a bluff, and there is actually a secret hideout at the location pointed by Sid. He then tells her to contact the 7 Shadows. At the hideout, Viscount Grease is holding Claire chained. He questions her, and when he notes that just in case, they need to look into her brother too. Claire breaks the chains and threatens to kill him if they touch her brother. Grease knocks her out, and a man comes informing him that they are intruders. 7 Shadows easily cuts down all the men, and reaches Grease. Alpha states that they are the Shadow Garden, and their mission is to annihilate the cult of Diabolos. Grease wonders how they know that name and its secrets. He attacks Alpha, and she injures him, stating she won't kill him until they get answers from him. Grease takes a pill that boosts his magic, and manages to push away Alpha. He breaks the floor and runs away. Meanwhile, while walking around the tunnels, Shadow encounters Grease. He attacks Shadow, who easily blocks his attacks. Shadow decides to give him some lessons while fighting. As he is done, Shadow then attacks Grease and starts cutting him. Grease takes more pills and buffs himself even more. Shadow manages to block his attacks and then cuts him down, killing him. The next day, Claire returns home in a bad mood. Her wounds heal overnight and she departures for the academy the following day. Sid is eager to go to the academy himself, but is fine as he has 2 more years and needs to give the girls some work. However, Alpha tells him it's time they leave him, which leaves him shocked. Episode 3. While traveling on the train, Sid recalls everything Alpha said before leaving, and feels that's just a nice way of telling him that they are now grown up. They want their freedom, and don't want to continue playing this fighting the cult game. Sid turns 15, and he enrolls in the same school as his sister. 7 months into his academy life, Sid continues to live as a background character, and makes friends with Skell et al. And Paul Tato. While heading to school, Skell and Paul remind Sid that as he scored the worst in the test, his penalty is to confess to the most sought-after girl in school and suffer her rejection. That evening, Sid goes to confess to Alexia, shaking and muttering. To his surprise, she accepts. During lunch, Alexia joins them. She gets served lots of food and comments that she can't eat it all. Sid then gladly starts eating her food, in an attempt to make her dump him. Alexia tells Sid that she got him from the lowest section to section 1, as she heard that he is studying Royal Bushin fencing. Sid joins the section 1 team, and practices with Alexia. After the practice, Alexia states that he has good fencing style, but hates it as it feels that she is looking at herself. Alexia tells Zenon that she is Sid's girlfriend now. Sid then realizes what is going on. After that, Sid asks Alexia that she just wanted someone to help her to get out of the engagement with Zenon. As she confirms, Sid states that he doesn't want more attention and isn't interested in being mixed up in her problems. Alexia wants to continue the boyfriend act until Zenon gives up, so she takes out a gold coin and throws it on the ground. Staring at it, Sid takes the coin and decides to continue being her boyfriend, and is glad that the students are focused on her having a boyfriend and not him, which lets him be the background boyfriend character. In public, Alexia is prudent, but behind the scenes, she constantly badmouths Zenon. Sid decides not to argue with her, and just agrees to everything she says. While traveling in the train, Alexia tells Sid that he has the fencing basics, but nothing more than that, yet she can't take her eyes off him. He wonders what is with her today, as her fencing was unusually aggressive and sloppy. Alexia reveals that she always wanted to be as good as her sister. She didn't have what her sister had, and decided to be stronger by herself. They ended up calling Alexia the fencing ordinaire. It's unfortunate that Sid's fencing is ordinary like hers. However, Sid doesn't find it unfortunate, and states he likes her fencing. Alexia reveals that her sister told her the same thing after she suffered a humiliating defeat at the Bushin festival. But her sister couldn't understand how pathetic Alexia was feeling. Sid explained that he isn't a great person. There are things that people find worthless, but to him, they are the most precious things in life. Which is why he likes her fencing style. Alexia draws her sword and asks him what he means by that. Sid states he gets pissed off when people diss the things he likes. The train stops and Alexia leaves, telling Sid goodbye, making him guess that this is the end of his unwanted relationship. Skell and Poe wonder how far he got with her while dating her for 2 weeks. Sid states that he didn't get anywhere, which annoys them. At the school gate, Zenon and 2 other men stop Sid and his friends. Zenon states Sid should know that Alexia didn't return to her dorm last night, and they are investigating it as a potential kidnapping. Since Sid was the last person seen with her, he is their first suspect. As he sees more knights, Sid surrenders and realizes he is in big trouble.